scores of mourners have flocked into the Cathedral of Christ the King in Central Johannesburg. Archbishop Stephen Brislin is leading the service to pay homage to the late Pope Francis. Khayelihle Khumalo caught up with Transport Minister Mkhuleko Hlengwa.
Well, certainly a very heart-wrenching moment here in Johannesburg. As you know, that's also right in South Africa. You also do have a very significant Catholic community. They are right here in the Cathedral to pay their last respect to the late Pope Francis. A Pope of so many firsts, coming from Global South, first one for Southern Hemisphere. But joining us now is a Deputy Minister of Transport here in South Africa, Mr. Hlengwa. So once again, Deputy Minister, your fleeting reaction to these developments. Obviously, we've seen an outpouring of condolences and a common thread, a lot of people talking about his compassion, his humility, and really just a Pope of so many firsts in this regard.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Khayelihle, and good morning to the viewers. Well, on behalf of the IFP, which has asked us to be here this morning, as you know, President Hlabisa is in Lesotho as part of the government delegation, but understanding the impact of His Holiness Pope Francis around the world as a servant leader of the people, reminding us that the service of God to humanity is about humility, it's about personal sacrifice, and it is about a daily commitment to do the right things. And so the moment of his passing is a moment of global reflection as to whether we are all doing the right things for humanity. And we want to extend our condolences to the Catholic community of South Africa and around the world in this very difficult moment. Of course, there was hope when His Holiness was discharged from hospital, but also at the same time we understand that our lives are in God's hands, and when He has called him, we stand with the Catholic community. What's important, however, now is how we move forward in the cause of humanity. It's how we dedicate ourselves to being advocates of social justice, economic justice, and speaking truth to power, which was the hallmark and will be the legacy of the life of Pope Francis. He did not shy away from speaking truth to power, and that is fundamentally what service is about. It's about being an advocate for the voiceless. It is about being present in the most difficult of times. And so we really once again want to reiterate his message of peace around the world, in ending the war in Ukraine, in calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East, calling for a two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. And the world challenges around hunger, poverty, and inequality require a concerted effort for us to rededicate ourselves to emulate his example.
Just before we let you go, Deputy Minister, also known as a friend of Africa, you know, he's been to the continent so many times, but also even just a representation of the cardinals. We've seen him really pushing, making sure that the Global South is part of, you know, this quite esteemed team. And I would imagine making sure that his legacy is well preserved. A very big responsibility for the incoming Pope as well.
Well, obviously, the legacy of Pope Francis was to ensure that the excluded are included. He lived by the mantra that and that is of critical importance, obviously, to ensure that the faithful across the world find themselves adequately represented, where decisions are taken about their lives, about their religious outlook, and about their sense of beliefs, but also about transforming the agenda of religion and faith to be responsive to the daily lived material conditions and circumstances of the people. And so that requires you to actually ensure that inclusivity is part of the agenda, and we think that he successfully did that. A reminder that the church is not for some but for all.
All right, sir, thank you so much for your time. Of course, that's the Deputy Minister of Transport here in South Africa, representing the IFP, reflecting about the life and times of the late Pope Francis. We know that he's going to be lying in state and he'll be laid to rest on Saturday. Khayelihle Khumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.